Hi folks, Chris Martin here, and we're up to the fall of 1906 in our recap of the top board at the World Diplomacy Championships held at WeaselMoot in Chicago this summer. This fall, the story is, how are people reacting to the change in the board dynamic after Adam Silverman has thrown all of his forces back to stop Nathan Barnes from winning? And as we go from each negotiation to the next, you want to think about what are these players trying to do in order to capitalize on this event? Whether it's Nathan Barnes trying to maintain, right, trying to turn Adam around, or Peter Jürgen or Andrew Goff seeing new opportunities open up for themselves, or Chris Brand looking for a way to exploit this after his misorder in the previous fall. Let's start with Peter Jürgen and Chris Brand, as Peter is working very hard to get Chris Brand on board.
The obvious thing is I support him in tank.
Support him into Hank
But it can be cut.
by Vegeta. Dave seems like he wants to talk to you, so I think he's still on board. So milk that up. He's seeing you and I still fighting. Give Dave one more season and he's dead, right? And give Goffy and Carr. Are you okay with me holding Greece? I don't want to piss you off, but I think we need more armies in the line there. I think you've got something you can pull, right? Like pull the army in Albania, for example. You really need that in Albania?
I guess. No, I don't really need it. What is that? What you want?
Just 5. Okay. And then I can send everything to the line, right? Okay. And Goffy's on board. So what's going on is Goffy will be at 5 or 6 if he gets 8, right? He's going to be moving towards the north against England anyway, which you want.
Yeah.
Barnes is losing Liberty, right? So he's going down that for sure after the convoy. And you've got position on the fleet, so you've 2 is trying to see you're safe from Barnes. Barnes is going to pull one up back to go help. He doesn't have enough pieces to stop Silverman. Yeah. So I think you still got the better shot to win this game between you and Goff, but Goff's gaining on him quickly. So and I'm just trying to stay alive. Yeah. You fair with that? Yeah. Okay. All right.
What Peter closes with there is a theme that runs throughout all of these videos. It's who has the chance to win now, and how do you diplome with someone about that? Peter's position here is, Goff might have a chance to win, you might have a chance to win, I want to help you. Just keep me alive so that I can do that. And that's going to come up again and again. And in fact, it really is how the diplomacy starts in the next conversation, which is between Peter and Andrew Goff in Russia. And right before I get there with the camera, I think Andrew says to Peter, I like your chances of winning this thing now. Let's pick it up there.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I think it's a lie. I think you've got this.
Oh, fuck off! No, it's crazy how fast this thing's changing around. You have got to be kidding.
No, because England is basically all in on the France, right? Yeah. I don't know if you're actually taking anything off this. I don't think we need to.
I'm even thinking about Scotland.
If you're playing correctly, England okay. That's great. I mean, you've got basically 2 he's not attacking North and St. Louis. I see Moscow's coming to I talked to Chris. Chris is going to support you into Ankara.
That would be okay, right?
That's what he said he's going to do. That's what he told me. So go talk to him. He just wants Dave to die.
He just wants
Dave to be done. Those 2 fleets are throwing way too many riches into everything. So,
which I've been telling you there is something.
Finally.
So here you see Peter coming off of his conversation with Chris Brand, where he tells Chris that he thinks he's got the best chance, coming to Goff and saying, no, I really think you've got the best chance. And that's what you do when you're in the middle, like Peter is, and you need people's help to grow, get back on top, and maybe get back in it and have a chance. They have to have a reason to keep you around and not coordinate against you. So let's now turn to Adam Silverman, who has a different agenda at this point. He has taken his role as stopping Nathan Barnes and embraced it and is looking to leverage that in a way that will maybe give him a chance to get back into it. Let's take a look.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, basically by doing that, you'd be replacing Doug's fleet with my fleet, which would be underselling. I could, but I think to replace those guys right now is to block off my side of the phone. That's, I mean...
Okay, you make a good case. Let me have a look at it first. But
So what is Adam talking about here? He's talking about Denmark. And before the camera gets there, he makes the ask. Hey, support my fleet from the North Sea into Denmark. And Goff thinks about that and says, yeah, okay, well, why would I do that? Why am I going to help you into that dot? And well, why don't you put me in that dot instead? And Adam makes the very persuasive case that the thing that needs to happen is he wants to plug this area up with fleets. And he's going to put him down here, and that's going to stop this. And Goffy thinks about that for a second, and then he says, okay, let's do that. So, pretty persuasive argument offered by Adam there. Now, you might think that Adam is unaware of what he's doing as far as changing the larger board dynamic, but he absolutely is not. Remember that Adam is an excellent player, and he knows how to read a board, and he knows what he's done by changing this dynamic so completely. Let's listen to his conversation with Nathan Barnes, where he explains that, you know, if somebody else wins instead of Nathan, that doesn't do him any good unless he's the one who wins.
But if you feel like you need those dots, I mean, if you do, that's fine. But I'm not going to roll over. Is the whole point? So, you know, because I don't think there's enough of a concerted effort right now to do anything that it's going to have any effect other than to hook Goff on top of. I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me.
Doesn't touch like that.
No. I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't help me to see Goff on top instead of you.
Yeah.
Right. The only scenario that plays well is.
yeah. So when you say he's down on my ship, what do you mean? I want to be clear on how I can meet that.
Go out to that. Go out to the opponent. Don't come up beyond that, I guess, is what I don't know. I mean, that's basically, I mean, that's about it.
So Adam knows the risks he's taking here, and he's not, you know, given an inch really to Nathan. And you can see that Nathan isn't thrilled about that. The body language, the way he just walks away from him at the end of the conversation, it's an emotional game, and Nathan really made this big push and made this case that he should be the winner, and the board turned against him, and that's tough when that happens to you. He's fighting through it. You see, he doesn't lose his cool, but it's clearly getting to him. Let's stick with Adam as he goes and talks to Chris Brand, his sort of natural ally in this situation, as far as keeping Nathan contained is concerned, as they talk about what's going to happen in the fall and maybe next year.
Likely to, but possibly to, but definitely.
Yeah, I mean, go and say you want to see
Yeah, I mean, if Goffy takes St. Pete off, then it'll be one. I don't know.
I guess if you go one else, it might be.
Yeah, I'm figuring he probably will, but so there's something coming. I mean, you know, I mean, my goal though is not to wear Nathan down and throw it to Goff. So you know what I mean? So we just, you know, I mean, that's
Let's go.
my goal, you know, putting myself in the position, you know, so I guess, it's really.
We nodded across the board, but
That's
a really bad way to run.
It's ordered, it's fine, no problem.
So we see that information is being passed around the board, right? Andrew Goff and Chris Brand talked earlier, and Goff told Brand that he wanted Adam to be able to build, and so now, you know, he comes around and confirms that, which has to be good for Adam. I'm really interested in what happens here when Goff breaks into the conversation. Why does he do that? He does that so that he can show Adam that he has written the support for North Sea to Denmark. And how does Adam respond? He responds like Goff is asking him for something that is kind of surprising, or he doesn't need it. It's not a response that you might expect to get when you're helping somebody into a dot instead of taking 2 of their dots. And I don't know if that's what Andrew Goff is thinking at the last moment there when he kind of shrugs his shoulders, but, you know, he's coming to do Adam the favor of showing him that that is really going to happen. And Adam's like, yeah. Come on, I wrote that order. It's fine. Whatever. So there's definitely a dynamic going on there that I think is interesting. What I want to do now is go to a longer conversation. This is sort of our long, meaty conversation for this season. And it starts off between Andrew Goff and Chris Brandt. And later we're going to draw Peter Jurgen into the conversation. And this is the conversation in which Dave Molesky's fate is really sealed. When you are playing a game like Dave is playing, where you're puppeting to another player, you are only going to be able to do that as long as that player can really trust that you are on board and you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And Dave has mastered that. He's been very solid. He's done exactly what he said he was going to do, and he's told Chris, tell me what you want me to do, and I will do that. And this is the season where that finally stops paying off for Dave, as you will see.
I'm using hard fixing plans for ones with fun. I support. Nice. Yeah. The other option is just focus.
No, 84, if I'm doing the math right.
The risk of going to zone, of course, is you can then
Oh, you put it away.
I'm not getting any builds. So I'm not getting any builds.
Put all the stuff that is supposed to be on your home board, the dice and the stuff in one bag.
I think that helps you. You know what, maybe I do say I prefer support. Can you do that?
I can. What Molesky's told me is that he's moving black to my stuff.
Yes. Plus one of each field.
I think he probably I was thinking
You guys okay with me in this?
I get so Molesky says he's ordering James Con, black to
I can do it anywhere.
I do con to Smyrna, you do Bulgaria to con. Bounce that, you keep Greece, I keep con to Smyrna. So we're effectively taking the Molesky dot and giving it to
I'm fine with that.
then you do Greece.
I'm fine with that.
You keep Greece.
You mean I keep, yeah.
In which case I should probably put Albania to Trieste. So
You're not in Albania, remember? It's just a Greece.
no, I'm in Albania now, so I retreated to Albania.
Oh, yeah.
You have Trieste already, yes.
I have the Trieste as mine.
Yeah, Albania.
Albania to
Serbia will
Trieste.
support Albania and Trieste.
Okay.
Those, I put those in a little bag separately. Yeah.
And
All the stuff that goes on the main board.
And I'm still going to Ankara even though it's on love loss.
Yeah. Yeah. But then next turn we can actually pull you into con in the spring and pull you into con.
you guys just tell me what you want to do.
That will work.
Just don't lie to me.
We can guarantee
Because
that.
that will work. I don't think I have much of a shot at anything to help you guys, but I don't. But I don't want to slow down your tempo. I really don't want to.
What are you doing with the armies? You're in.
I'm good. I've got orders. Thank you.
You're in Vienna, Budapest.
Those two support each other. Vienna and Budapest not so.
I mean, do we want to kick them all into it?
Sure. So Vienna supports Trieste and 12.
Yeah.
Okay. Budapest will support it.
So that way you get.
Listen, just don't lie. Those pieces are, I know. Those pieces are going to do what you want to do. And if you need me to go back to 4, because you need to build so much, say, I need to go to 4.
Couple of things going on there. Really, as I said before, the peril of telling people what your orders are going to be is that eventually they're going to use that information against you. And I tell you, when Peter said that he was going to be supporting Albania to Trieste with his unit in Serbia, and Andrew Goff and I made eye contact, it was all that I could do to not laugh out loud as he and I had this telepathic moment where we both said, there's no unit in Serbia, Peter. And then he turned around and got back into the conversation. finally there, you see Peter once again making this real pitch that I am here for you. I'm making this move for you. Give me this build. I'm going to get another build, and I'm going to help you out. Have any of you spotted the problem with Peter's plan as it is spelled out so far? If not, we'll get to it after the orders are read. Let's take a look at Dave Molesky then, who, as we know, is about to get the shaft, and his conversation with Chris Brand, and where he is in his head as we go into this fall move.
Barnes that he should talk to you, because if I believe strategically right now, given the alliance structures, if you and he can establish a détente, it'll profit you both greatly, because you will be able to deal with the Austrian threat, like theater, and he'll be able to deal with the English theater. And he's already, I believe, going to force the Mid-Atlantic and pull Tiroli and Munich to Kiel and be out essentially out of your hair. So if you can, ask him to back some of the other fleets off, which is harmless to him, then I think you both could have a productive relationship.
I don't see you able to move my fleets towards.
Right, of course.
So Dave is advocating for the détente between Chris and Nathan, but he's not really on board the helping Chris Brand anymore. I think he's just given up that because of the misorders. And so we know that Dave's planning on ordering, Black to Ankh and Aegean to Khan, and that they've decided they're going to let Peter bounce that move, and Andrew's going to bounce that move. Although why Andrew doesn't go to the Black Sea instead and allow him to get to Ankara, I don't know. Seems like an oversight. But easy to armchair quarterback these things when we're sitting here weeks after the event, and we can look at everything and make analysis. Things move very quickly in the real board. We're going to finish our review of the negotiations here in the fall of 1906 with two interviews that I got over the course of the negotiations. The first one with Peter Jürgen, talking about how he's going to try and get on top if Chris Brand will let him. And then with Chris Brand, as he talks about the relative merits of keeping Dave Molesky alive versus working with Peter Jürgen. After those, we'll kick right into the moves, and then we've got to talk about the moves. So I'll see you there.
So Peter, you've made your move back down into your home territories and looking to maybe get a build?
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what Chris does. I think Chris thinks I need to build right now to help him against Nathan, and just living and playing in Chris's world at this point, so just trying to stay alive.
Sure. It's been a lot of changes. Here's my question, right? If you were Italy, wouldn't you rather Austria was dead and you had those units?
I would.
All right, so you think Chris might be making a mistake in letting you get back in it. In the same way that you see killing Dave is the right idea, you argue.
Right, yeah.
All right. So it's fall 1906, right?
Yeah, I mean that last fall, I messed up the fleet.
Yeah, the disorder with the coast, that was tough.
If that had worked, that would have been a lot nicer position.
Sure.
I think that was a reasonable. I still think that was a reasonable.
Yeah, the two dots, and then you've got the armies in the middle,
and Jürgen isn't a problem
he pulls
anymore.
two, yeah.
There's always the worry of keeping Molesky alive, but I think he's
generally very happy to be the hand.
Who will enjoy puppet mastering and helping manipulate. If he can't win the board, he'd like to choose who does win the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having messed that up,
right?
Molesky is trying to convince me that I can still take more of Jürgen's dots, which is true, but he's, I also believe Jürgen when he says that he hasn't really written himself out of this, but he knows that he needs to work with me in order to keep in the running there.
Okay, yeah.
So
to keep Nathan from running away.
And I think with that last turn, when I did exactly what I said I was going to do, he played it safe. Fine.
Yep, he walked
but
back
I think
home.
that hopefully it's rebuilt the trust between us.
Okay.
And that he will work with me this time.
We'll see. All right, thank you.
Berlin to Munich. Passports Yorkshire to Liverpool, so order north to Denmark, English to Mao.
Greece supports Bulgaria. Vienna supports something to Tyrolia, Trieste.
Yeah.
Trieste, Tyrolia.
Sorry, what's
Vienna supports Trieste to
Vienna supports Trieste, Tyrolia. Budapest supports Vienna. Bulgaria.
Well,
What
the
did
Khan.
Bulgaria do?
Bulgaria with the Khan?
It did.
Bulgaria to Constantinople.
Okay, so Greece does not support Bulgaria.
On to Smyrna. Tunis supports Tyrrhenian Sea. Tyrrhenian Sea supports Tunis. Rome supports Tuscany. Rome to Tuscany. Venice supports.
Rome to Tuscany? Rome
Venice supports Trieste, Tyrolia. Trieste, Tyrolia, Albania to Trieste.
Still got 2 more.
Silesia to Berlin. Sweden supports north to Denmark. Bull supports. Rum supports Bull. Moscow to Sev. Arm to Ankh. Aegean to Khan. Black to Ankh.
While they're sorting out what happened, let's review the French moves. The Western Med went to the Mid-Atlantic Ocean with the support from Spain. Gulf of Lyon went to the Tyrrhenian Sea. Brest to the English Channel. Picardy to Belgium. Belgium to Holland. And Ruhr supported Munich to Kiel, while Tyrolia went to Munich. And those are the French moves.
So 3 retreats.
Probably should write, I guess.
Yes, you have to retreat.
So you see how much that went down is exactly what you would expect from the negotiations. Very few surprises, very little stabby kind of movement this time, with the exception, of course, of Dave Molesky being stabbed, and we heard all about that in the negotiations. In the retreats phase, we had the French fleet in Liverpool disbanded, removed off the board. The German army fleet in Denmark, disbanded, removed off the board. And then Tyrolia, the French army, retreats to Piedmont. If you didn't spot it before, we have to talk about it now. Peter Jürgen has been working his tail off to get back to 5 units, to get to 5 dots. He's taken Greece. He's helped the Italians out by letting them keep Constantinople. All they had to do was hold in Bulgaria, and Dave Molesky walks his fleet into Constantinople. And at that point, he would have been down one. Chris Brand would have had to remove a unit somewhere on the board. Unfortunately, in his haste to make this happen, Peter forgot to clear one of his home centers so that he could build. And I remember asking about this later on, and what he said to me was, you know, Chris, I had planned on building that army in Serbia. And I was like, come on. And he said, no, that was the plan. It was clear in my mind. And I was like, that is a real testament to the pressure that you're under on this top board. Come on. Peter Jürgen has been a top tournament player for more than a decade. If he can make that kind of mistake, anyone can make any mistake on any board anywhere. I don't think anybody has any right to mock them about it. This is a tough game. And we look at this from, the distance behind the screen, or we watch other people's results, or we see some players who have success or others who don't. We're like, oh, well, they've got these problems. The truth of the matter is diplomacy is a very hard game and a lot to keep track of all the time. And on the top board at a world championship, the pressure sometimes gets to you. Well, that's it for me for the fall of 1906. We'll pick up with the builds in the winter and kick right into 1907 next time. Until then, I'm Chris Martin, and I'll stab you soon.